jacket. Did you hear what he said?
Who?
Did you hear what his answer was?
Who?
Back there.
Oh.
Alright, let's pay attention. Okay, so what we're doing, he said if you're living in a cold climate, so say you're living up in Alaska or you're living up north, Minnesota, Wisconsin, then in that climate you may be wearing a jacket more times out of the year. So good, he said clothing will affect the way he lives in this climate. Anyone else got any ideas?
Clothing.
Yeah, I said clothing.
I was down in Florida, like, it rained almost every day, back around 1 o'clock, so that affected this a lot, not like having this grass a lot.
Good, yeah, so that's his lifestyle. He said that it rained around 1 o'clock every time that he was down in Florida. So say his dad gave him, or his grandpa or his uncle gave him the chore of cutting the grass for the day. Then he knows he's got to get out of bed and cut the grass before 1 o'clock before it rains. So that's how the climate that he lives in affects his life. So that's a great example. Things you do. Yeah, so what type of things do they may do? Sports. Good. Yeah, sports is another great example. So we see in the NFL today that some teams have domes. Now some of those teams have domes because they're in cold weather. So like the Minnesota Vikings, for example, it snows a lot up there in Minnesota, so that their team plays under a dome. So that's another great example of how it may affect it. Now some more examples, maybe the schools you go to, the places you shop at. If you ladies like shopping. In California or Arizona, they have open shopping malls so that they can be outside year-round and shop outside. Now, if you're up in a colder state, say South Dakota in the wintertime, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be wanting shopping outside. So their malls are more inside. Another great example in Minnesota, they got the Mall of America, the largest mall in America. That's all indoors. That's not outdoors. Now, schools here at Pike, you guys' schools you guys pretty much stay inside all day. You have this huge long hallway here that you guys walk. If you go to school out in California, maybe New Mexico, they're not going to have this huge long hallway inside. They're going to have that outside. You may get done with class and you may be walking right outside to go to your next class. So that's kind of examples of how their climate affects the way that they live. So today we're going to be learning a lot about climate and vegetation. So as you guys were writing down your answers, I went around and passed out a sheet of paper. Now in the top left corner of that paper is a color. If you don't have a color, that means your paper is white, so you're in the white group. There's a yellow group, a blue group, a black group, and a purple group. Okay? Now what we're going to be doing today is getting into all those groups. So you're going to find your blues. We're going to have the blues meet right back here. No, don't go yet. I'll explain the activity right now. Yeah, so you're the white group. Okay, so the blues are going to meet right back here. The blacks are going to meet right here. Okay, the purple will have them meet right back in here. Okay? And then the yellow group will meet right here. And then the white group will meet right in here, okay? So before we do that, this is what we're going to be doing. If you guys have your books, please open to page 138. So go ahead and open that right quick. Okay, so on page 138 we'll find section 2, climate and vegetation. Now in our book here we have five climates that we're going to be learning about. Okay, so write down on your piece of paper the climate that I assign your group. Okay, so the people that have an all white piece of paper, you're going to be doing warm and wet climates. So go ahead and write that down on your piece of paper. Okay, the people that have the blue dot on their paper, they're going to be doing warm and dry climates. So go ahead and write that down. Okay? The people that have the yellow dot on their paper are going to be doing interior climates. The people that have the black dot on their paper are going to be doing coastal climates. Coastal. And then the last one, the purple color, you guys are going to be doing high altitude climates. So this is what we're going to do. When we get in our groups, your group is responsible for figuring out what the key definitions are, examples, explaining what those climates are. So you're going to be doing research on that climate. So come up with the important information, key definitions, examples, where you can find this climate. And on that piece of paper that I provided for you, that's where you're going to be writing down your information. So for the first half here, you're just going to be using the book as your resource. The second half, I'll allow you to pull out your phone and you can use that. Go on Google, you can use that to further your research. Maybe come up with some examples, use a little bit of technology to figure out a little bit more about about your climate. Okay, so we're going to be doing that. And then after we do our research, then we're going to go back to our desk, and each group is going to come up here, and they're going to present the information that they learned to the rest of the class so that everybody can figure out what that climate is all about. Question?
I'm sorry, I wasn't saying, what was the white group?
The white group, you guys were warm and wet climate. Warm and wet. Okay? So, does anyone have any more questions? Alright, so when you're in your groups, make sure everyone's writing down the information, and then at the tail end of writing down your information, make sure you guys have a plan of how you're going to present that information. Maybe you select 2 or 3 people that will come up here and talk and tell the information. Maybe you guys will all pick one spot of the information, and then that's how you explain it. So in your group, figure out how you're going to present to the class too. And while